Can I track my children when they are with the other parent? That is our topic for today. Welcome to the Lawyers and Mediators International Show and Podcast by InstantMediations.com, where we discuss law and conflict resolution topics to educate both professionals and everyday people. Catch regular episodes on YouTube, the Instant Mediations app, and anywhere you get your podcasts. Just remember, nothing in these episodes constitutes legal advice, so be sure to talk to a lawyer, as cases are fact-dependent. Hi, everyone. This is Mac Pierre-Louis, attorney, mediator, arbitrator, working throughout Florida and Texas.
Natalia Łowska-Czajka, advocate, mediator, and arbitrator from Warsaw, Poland, today from Houston, Texas.
And I'm Fran Brochstein, an attorney and mediator in Texas. And it is my pleasure to be with Natalia and to have actually met her in person finally.
Yes, it's been a long time coming after this pandemic, and so now we're all together in person. All right, guys, so here's a topic for today. Can I track my children when they're visiting the other parent? And the reason this topic is coming up is because technology is advancing so fast and so quickly. A lot of times parents are tempted to put trackers on kids when they are with the other parent. Now, this has been a topic that's come up for years, and I wanted to talk with my colleagues today about this, partly one, because it's a legal issue and we're all lawyers here, but also two, it's an issue that can be mediated and resolved if people want to bring it up at mediation. So who wants to start? Natalia, what do you think about the question, can I track my children with the other parent?
Answering this question is easy. No, you can't track the children when they visit the other parent. First of all, this is not tracking the child. It is actually tracking the other parent, who is a separate legal person who has his own personal rights. And you simply can't do that. Even if within your marriage or relationship where you were in, that was the custom that you wanted to know everything about the other parent, at that point, the partner, that shouldn't stay as a pattern forever. And actually, that can be harmful to yourself. And let my other colleagues tell you why.
Fran, what do you think?
Well, like any technology, it can be good or it can be bad. When little children disappear, if a child had a tracker on, I think children's lives could be saved. And I think if both parents, even if they're not together, agree to put a tracker on the child, then that's fine. Now, there are more technology that you can block it or even fake it. So again, it's not foolproof. And of course, technology is advancing every day. And I know, Mac, you're really a technological person, so you understand this stuff. There's pros and cons with everything. And again, you cannot micromanage the other parent.
Yeah, some good points. So the thing about it is that the law is not keeping pace with the tech changes, right? Because I mean, it seems now every other week, some big tech company is coming out with something new and shiny, and then we're trying to, like, for example, you have a smartwatch on, right? I've just noticed.
Yes, I do.
And so that smartwatch, can you imagine just 10 years ago, somebody asked you, hey, one day you're going to be able to have all your emails, your phone calls, your text messages on your wrist. What would you think?
I did not believe it would ever happen.
Exactly. And so what I wanted to point out is this. An example of where the law and the tech don't necessarily connect is, let's say you're in a divorce case, right? And a spouse wants to track your car. Now, they can track their property because it's their vehicle, especially if you're in a community property state where you both own that same car. But they can't track you if you didn't give consent, since, that's like spying on somebody and that's potentially dangerous, okay? You don't give people consent to just know your every location. And so there's so much gray in the law, especially in this jurisdiction of Texas, where you don't know what you're supposed to do then. And so then it can come up to a judge to decide how that issue is going to be addressed. But maybe this is something that you could bring up at mediation. Maybe it's something you could as a dispute, handle with a third neutral person, just so they can help you figure out a way that addresses the problem. Any thoughts?
Mac, you mentioned smartwatches, and Fran uses one. Where in my jurisdiction, that was a really great problem. Children having these being done for them, even the most basic ones. Because of course you can, and that's a perfect thing, you can record two particular numbers that will be the numbers to both of the parents. However, usually this device also allows to hear the conversations around, not to record them, but to broadcast them. So actually it's a perfect not only tracking device, but also a device that allows you to be in full control about every single word that is being said around the child. And again, there might be circumstances where it can be life-saving, but on average, and especially if those watches or other devices are being given to children for the time of their stay with the other parent, that can be very problematic. The approach of the judges to that was that you virtually and practically shouldn't be recording and voice tracking your own child. The children also need a certain amount of your trust. This is how they develop, this is how they grow. If you need to be tracking voice of your child, especially with the other parent, what you are telling to the judge about you, what you are telling about your educational methods.
So I think one of the takeaways from what you just said that I got is that it's a slippery slope. Like it might start with tracking, but the same technology could often be used to also record a person as well. And a parent might say, "Oh, that's not what I meant. I just wanted to know where they were to make sure they were safe." But let's be honest, if you're tempted to track somebody's physical whereabouts, you might also be tempted to, know what they're saying to the child, know where the child's sleeping, know who else is hanging on the child if they're with the new girlfriend. This stuff gets kind of hairy. And we hope parents will have a little bit of common sense because you wouldn't like it to be done to you. But I certainly understand where the temptation, comes from, especially when it concerns kids' safety.
Well, I would like to add that this has come up at my mediations in the past. And I do warn people that there are, in the United States, are federal and state laws regarding recording conversations. And you may not violate Texas law, but you may violate federal law. And as I often point out to people, if you're recording, then the other side may be recording. Now, quite frankly, most judges do not have the time to listen to these recordings. Usually they're terrible quality, and most of them, quite frankly, are boring. There's hardly ever like an oh my God moment in these recordings, especially if you're talking to a small child under the age of 6. They believe in Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny, so they're not very good witnesses.
Exactly. So it's up to people to use, again, a little common sense. But at the end of the day, if you got a strong case, bring it to court. But hopefully, you segue over to the mediator's office like Fran, and she'll help you resolve it.
Once again, the solution for that can be that both parents agree to tracking, I understand, mutually. There also can be, let us show the other way around. Let us say there is a parent who cannot be trusted for some reason. That can be drug abuse, alcohol abuse. So to a degree, having a tracking device on the child while the child is with this parent can be a temporary mean to gradually build trust. So although my initial response, can you track children when they visit the other parent, is generally no, there will be very slight exceptions to that. And please make sure that there is the agreement of the other parent that they want to be followed this way.
Yeah. You want to add something?
Well, I was going to add that I had a mediation where when the children showed up at Dad's home, he had a lockbox, and their cell phones, their watches, their backpacks all went into a box at his home that he locked and controlled. And anything that mommy sent over was in there. And when they went home, he opened it and returned it to her. And she was very unhappy because she couldn't track the children. But what happens at the other parent's house stays at the other parent's house. It's their home, they're in control. And as I've told a couple of mothers that were really concerned, if you want to control your spouse, stay married to them.
Good point. So, like Fran says, what happens at one parent's house stays in the other parent's house. But also, like Natalia says, there might be exceptions where you could agree to be tracked. So, I can see that as a potential solution because that's one of the benefits of mediation, right? You can basically agree to anything you want as long as it's in the children's best interest and it's not dangerous to kids. And it lets both parents save face and have a workable solution for them. Now, if it's too complicated of a solution, it might create more problems. But this is where you go to an experienced mediator to try to help you put things into the mediation agreement that's not going to be too far fetched, or something that's not enforceable at all. Meaning you have it on paper, but you can't really do much with it. Anything else to add?
I think that we practically covered everything. So whether you can track the devices, what to do if there is a need, when you would need to track someone for particular reasons pertaining to this particular person. Also the evidential value of those possible recording of findings that you might have. And I think that would be all about this topic.
All right, guys. So, Fran, do you have any more closing statements to make on this topic?
No, except it's great to see Natalia and see you in person.
And likewise, Fran, it's really, and now I know why Fran is such a great mediator. All about Fran in person is about listening to what is being said. Bravo, Fran.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. All right, guys, we're signing off. This is Mac Pierre-Louis.
Natalia Wowska-Czajka.
And Fran Brochstein.
All right, until next time, stay tuned for more.